Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast, and we're doing things a little differently in this episode, taking a break from the local sports talk, and we're going to talk some NBA, which for those of you that have been paying attention for the longest time, you know this is where Spencer and I started with, was NBA talk. And guys, for me, this is one of my favorite times of the year, NBA offseason with NBA draft, post-draft, and the start of free agency. Not the wildest offseason so far, but there's been a lot of things that have happened. The end of a couple major eras and the start of some new ones that we'll jump in and kind of get some takes off. Yeah, Spencer and CJ with me tonight. How we doing, fellas?
Doing good.
Fantastic, man.
We are in the middle of summer now, to where the basketball games are not being played, but there's a lot of action going on. And just at the same time we basically started this, the news dropped that the Cavs have come to an extension agreement with Donovan Mitchell, keeping him in Cleveland 3 years, $150 million. One of many moves that have happened so far, but what I want to kick it off with, let's go back to the NBA draft last week. And now, Spencer, we mentioned a couple things on our last episode, but CJ, anything that stood out to you about the draft itself? We both said it was one of the most boring drafts we probably ever watched, and there wasn't really much takeaways from it.
No, as expected this year, definitely. Compared to like years past and next year, this is definitely the bottom of the list as far as excitement. Nothing really in the draft really surprised me. I thought Dalton Connect would go higher. I was definitely surprised that the Lakers got him all the way down to 17. I thought he was the top, at lowest, maybe 12, 15 pick. Definitely thought he shouldn't have sat that long. Reed Shepard is the best shooter in the draft. I think Rob Dillingham's a better player, so I thought he would have went before him as well. And I think the steal of the draft probably goes to that big that Miami got out of Indiana. I forgot how to say his name. Khalil. I think that's probably that may end up being if he's a really good talent. He reminds me of Derek Lively. His motor is just bad. Like, he doesn't play hard. But if anybody can get out of you, it's Miami, because that's what they're known as, for playing hard. So if they could turn him into a monster, he has all the talent and the ability to be like Tyson Chandler, Derek Lively 2.0 type of player. Yeah. So
and he should be nice alongside Bam, and Bam could slide down to the floor and get some fun there. Exactly. How about biggest disappointment of the draft, or team that you thought just did nothing to benefit themselves?
Did nothing. I don't like to talk down about people who did nothing.
Oh, the Bucks for me, man. The Bucks, I don't know what they were doing. They whiffed on that pick. I think it's AJ Johnson out of the NBL. And
never heard of him.
It's going to, it's
never heard of him.
Just eyeballed stats, but I mean, you're looking at a guy that played like, that averaged a little bit over 2 points a game on terrible efficiency. I don't know. To me, the Bucks are very much a win now team, so I'm not sure why they would take a project that's going to take years to develop. So that to me, I think they missed the hardest. There's definitely some guys available that could have made an impact.
I think with the Bucks, it came down to they didn't have any roster spots. They have 13 players under contract right now. Well, I guess
who's even available?
They have 11. They have 11 under contract with two-way contracts, and they signed DeLon Wright. So I think it was one of those where they just didn't have space yet, unless they make some other moves. But yeah, I thought they needed another shooter. Maybe this AJ Johnson guy can be that, but to me, that was a good spot for Johnny Furphy in the first round. But I think I'd agree. I don't think they did much of anything. For the most part, though, I thought just about every team got somebody that they needed. I'm curious to see how Zach Edey fits with Memphis. I thought that was a little high for him, but good size. I think he'll fit in nicely with that core. But I thought that was maybe one of the surprise picks, that he slid so high and that Dalton Connect dropped so much. But yeah, Lakers got a good one there. I think he'll be a good plug and play right away kind of piece. Yeah, outside of that, I thought the draft was
I like what the Thunder did. The Thunder could have been a little more aggressive. Not an overall great draft, but I do like the guard that they picked up. The one kid, I forgot his name. He's really good. So
the Thunder have they're good at finding these guys that you're not as familiar with as prospects, but they fit their system so well.
Exactly.
And I mean, they've been doing this for several years now of getting multiple guys in the draft. But they've had a good offseason so far too. So let's just switch into that. Let's go offseason talk in general free agency. Probably the biggest free agent. Well, some major headlines in free agency. Paul George signing with Philadelphia, end of an era in the Clippers, whatever era that was. goes to Philadelphia to begin a new era with Joel Embiid. He's now got I think, a perfect fit for a wing piece as long as they all stay healthy. You've got the other biggest news with Klay Thompson breaking up the Splash Bros to form what I'm going to call the Splash Trio down in Dallas because all three of them out. Spencer and I have been talking about that one for weeks about the Klay Thompson to Dallas fit being fantastic. Some funny, interesting things on that came out today that his dad was disappointed that he didn't choose the Lakers. Supposedly turned down more money with the Lakers, but I had also heard that the Warriors turned down the Lakers trade offers and like whatever Dallas, which I'm shocked with because they got nothing back. They got 2 future second round picks. What was the other big one I was going to mention? I guess New York Knicks. New York Knicks have probably had the biggest offseason, I'd say. They fall short in the conference finals. Everybody got injured, and they go out there and trade for Mikal Bridges to become the Villanova Knicks. And then they re-signed OG Anunoby to a fat contract. They still have Julius Randle to figure out. Let's start with them. What do you guys think about the Knicks offseason so far? And does that propel them as the number 2 team in the East? Top 3?
If they stay healthy, I don't know why they can't. They should be an Eastern Conference Finals team. I thought they would have been that last year, but it's just Tibbs. Like it's all good now in July, and we're seeing what the roster looks like when we get to January, February. We're like, all right, how's the roster looking? They were healthy, and then during the playoffs, Precious Achiuwa got hurt. Julius Randle got hurt before we got to even All-Star break. And then obviously everybody else started going down. Then the straw that broke the camel's back was probably Jalen Brunson breaking his thumb, like in game 6. Game 7 when he did that. So it's like at that point, it's like, bro, the luck just ran out. And that's kind of who you are with Tibbs. Like he is who he is. He's a great coach. He's going to play hard. He's going to get his guys locked in. But 82 games, he's just going to wear his teams out. And he's been that way since Chicago. So it isn't anything new. So, but roster-wise on paper, if they're playing their best ball, I think they have the best chance to give Boston the best run for their money. I don't trust Joel Embiid to stay healthy. And ironically, we're talking about health when it comes to the Knicks too. So if I had to choose between those 2 teams, I mean, Embiid hasn't even shown that he can even make it to a second-round playoffs without his knee flaring up some type of way, which is sad because I think he's arguably the best big in the league to sign Joker. So if I had to pick somebody, I would probably pick the Knicks by default because obviously – and it's ironic. And again, we're talking about Milwaukee. Giannis, 2 years in a row, he's been hurt, right, in the first round of the playoffs. So the 3 teams who are probably the 3 biggest contenders in the East behind Boston all have injury questions. So it's just about who's the healthiest team when we get to like March, April.
Yeah, I think with the Knicks, as long as they figure out the center position, because Mitchell Robinson, of course, injury concerns there.
Hartenstein went to OKC.
Hartenstein to OKC. They could still keep Achiuwa, but there's a lot of teams calling about him. I think the Knicks might have the best depth as far as not just star talent, but high ceiling players. My question, though, is who the heck do they start and what's their rotation look like? Does DiVincenzo come off the bench? Josh Hart's going to have to come off the bench. Do you move Julius Randle to the 5?
I think you have to keep Josh Hart in there because
somebody's coming out of that lineup, and I don't know who. I think it's going to be DiVincenzo by default. It's probably the first guy off the bench. But I mean, Josh Hart, fantastic. Who do Mikal Bridges isn't coming off the bench, and OG Anunoby's not coming off the bench. So unless they move Randle to the 5 or trade Julius Randle altogether and start Anunoby at the 4, then they're going to have some depth pieces. And Randall's the interesting one to me. Spencer and I have talked about him before. I don't really know what team out there he would be a really good fit on that would be a contending team just because of his play style. I thought the Knicks actually looked better in the playoffs without Randall next to Brunson than they did. So I don't know where you would send him that he'd be a good fit. I think he's one of those players to me that there's a handful of guys in the league that are really good and put up great numbers, but you just can't win with them. Like Russell Westbrook to me is one of those guys. Love his motor, love his energy, not the best shooter, great play style, but you just can't seem to win with his play style. So I don't know. Yeah, they've had an excellent offseason. Obviously, everyone's stocking up to do whatever they can to slow down the Celtics, who the Celtics also have had a good offseason, basically keeping everybody so far. The Knicks, they are loading up. And then, the Sixers, I thought the Sixers so far have been off to a good start. They still need to find a 4-man to slide in along that group. I guess my disappointment from the offseason so far is Miami. I've been a big Heat fan for a long time, and they just haven't done anything yet. This is like the 3rd year in a row. Pat Riley's kind of stuck out on getting a big name. Couldn't get Jalen Brunson. Couldn't get Donovan Mitchell twice.
Damian
They're
Lillard
looking
could
at
get in.
couldn't get Dame. They're looking at Larry Markkinen right now. So I'm kind of curious to see what they do. But I think my next biggest win of the offseason is probably Dallas. Landing Klay Thompson was huge. I think he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, Klay's not the same guy he's been. But I think in this system, you're telling me he can't hit 4 to 6 threes a night and get 8 to 10 of them up a night with Luka driving and Kyrie driving off the pick and roll. Spacing is going to be incredible in Dallas now with Lively or Gafford in the middle.
It's an
Really
upgrade
love
over
that.
Josh Green for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
Major upgrade from him. Him and
Green,
Tim Hardaway Jr. Major upgrade
yeah,
for whatever they offer. Major upgrade.
The Pistons are one we'll have to mention. I don't know what they're doing, taking on Hardaway and Tobias Harris. That's kind of not the veterans they need.
A
But
rough
yeah,
watch.
Dallas has looked good. Najee Marshall, I think, it was a great pickup for them to replace.
I like
Jones.
Najee. I like that one.
Quinn Grimes. I
Yeah,
like that.
Oh yeah, and he got Quinn Grimes. Those
They
three
just seem
players
like they
alone
have
are
guys
way
that
better.
fit better. Yeah, they just seem like the fit's going to be better. They didn't really have. I mean, all season they didn't have a backup 2 guard that they could rely on. That should have been Hardaway, but just wasn't consistent. And they weren't really doing much with Hardy or AJ Lawson. So I think that gives them some great depth. I don't know if that propels Dallas any further up. Not that I know they were in the finals, but I don't know if Dallas was really my top 3 team in the West this year. I think they're still that 2 through 4. But I'm starting to really lean on what the Thunder did last year is no joke, and they got better. Hartenstein, great pickup for them. They needed a backup big, someone that's big, physical, that can play alongside Holmgren to give him a break. Of course, they've re-signed all of their role players. The Josh Giddey trade I found to be a little interesting.
Fleece job.
But Alex Caruso is going to be a good fit with them. Yeah, I don't know what the Bulls are doing. They have 2 guys that are basically the same with Lonzo Ball and Josh Giddey. Not the exact same, but similar. If they're both on the court at the same time, what are you doing? Bulls are probably one of the biggest disappointments of the offseason so far. I don't know what the heck they're doing over there. They don't want to facilitate a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan to just about anywhere, except the teams that want DeRozan don't have any money. They can't get anybody to take Zach LaVine's contract. Can't move off of Vucevic. They're kind of in no man's land. What are the Chris Paul getting waived by the Warriors? There was a deal in place with I want to say it was Chicago. It was Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins for Zach LaVine, and the Warriors said no. And then there was another trade with the Clippers that was supposed to be in the works of Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney for Paul George. Don't know what happened there. But the Klay Thompson era with Steph Curry's over. I think that's huge news. What do the Warriors look like without Klay? Personally, I was on the side of I'd rather see Draymond go than Klay. I think Klay and Steph are a better fit together. But I think this was a Klay's going, I got to make some money and go somewhere else, just new fit. I never thought he was going to sign with Orlando, or there were 2 other teams mentioned. I thought it was definitely going to be Lakers or Mavericks. I am shocked a little bit he didn't pick the Lakers, and this is something I did want to ask you guys about, is if you're Klay Thompson, why choose Dallas over LA?
I mean, if Dallas really didn't hide the trade from the Lakers in that offer, I'm shocked that they did, because I heard they offered D'Angelo Russell, the first-round pick, and I think
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
I think Hood-Schifino was in there. I didn't know if Rui was involved in the package or not, but for them to turn that down, I was surprised they did, because like everybody knows, like the Lakers were on obviously his radars for teams he wanted to finish his career on. So maybe it was the Warriors just being a little spiteful towards LA and not wanting to give them.
To me, that's got to be it, because the offer they got was terrible. You're telling me they couldn't call 20 other teams up and get a better trade package than what Dallas gave him? Nothing.
2 twos and no players. Yeah, like I don't get the trade either,
it did give him a trade exception that they used today to get Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton over. But why if you're Klay Thompson, why are you picking Dallas over the Lakers?
Well, I think he wants to win. He's used to going to the finals. He just saw Dallas go to the finals. He has seen the Lakers get bounced out of the first round for like the last 10 years, it seems. So I think the fit is really good. You have 2 guys that are going to facilitate and are going to, pretty much guarantee him open shots every single game. And the Lakers have always had a little bit of spacing problems, which is why, it's tough for LeBron to get going a lot. So I think he really wants to be in a competitive situation. And unless the Lakers I don't know, unless the Lakers are able to land somebody else this season, I think they're going to be in a similar spot, even with a new coach and, Bron's son this year. So
You're telling me Klay wasn't excited to go suit up with Bronny?
that's probably what did it. He probably saw the Bronny stuff. He's like, I'm not going to LA.
I figured
They're not serious here. So
I figured he wanted to play in front of his dad. I mean, like, if I got the last ride of my career, and like you said, maybe he thinks that Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to win a championship. I think they were lucky to get to the final this year, in my humble opinion. I think if Minnesota makes the move they have now, if they saw each other next playoffs, I think Minnesota beats Dallas in maybe 6 games. Because you add obviously Terrence Shannon Jr., you add Rob Dillingham, they have more shot creators outside of Anthony Edwards. Because that was their biggest issue. Once Ant was off the ball, nobody else could get to the rim.
They couldn't find any scoring options.
It was really just him. So if they play each other again, I'll probably pick Minnesota to win. So obviously, if I'm Klay, I don't mind him picking Dallas. Like you said, it's a great fit. Like, you got Klay and Luka, they're going to get you open shots. All the bricks that PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. and Josh Green. Klay, you can get all them shots. Now, is he going to make them or not? The last time we saw Klay Thompson in the closeout game, didn't he go over? In the last game,
he had a rough stretch.
He had an over game. So it's not to say he's not, obviously, like Keenan said, he's not his old self. He's not the prime Klay, but he's better than what we just saw for Dallas. So it's a double-sided coin. He is an improvement, but it's still not good enough to win the West. Yeah. I don't think they win the West next year, but they'll be in the run for sure. They're going to be a 2 through 4 seed for sure.
When I look at both those teams, to me, the Lakers just seem messy. I don't think there's a true identity as to what they want to be. D'Angelo Russell all year was, we don't want him. Nobody wants him. So I guess we'll keep him. But then he actually plays well. Opts into his contract like everyone predicted. They just have an interesting combination of players that you just can't play all together.
Weird. He had a career year in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's trash. I don't get him. He literally was having stretches where he was averaging like 25-plus points in the regular season. As soon as the playoffs come, all that goes away.
Yeah.
Same guy. It's like, I don't get him.
So personally, I'd pick Dallas over that. I think Dallas is a more entertaining team to watch play. I think Jason Kidd's a pretty good coach. Doncic, of course, can do just about anything. But the Lakers are just odd to me. They've got a logjam. Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Taurean Prince, all play the same position essentially. So you can't play all of them. The Lakers never seem to play their backup big men, no matter who that is, no matter how quality they are. Jackson Hayes basically got no time. Christian Wood played very little. When they had Mo Bamba didn't get a lot of playing time either. It's just all Anthony Davis, and then they go small ball.
I hate Darvin Ham. He had all the players who didn't play him. Now, like, Christian Wood was hurt, so I'll give him that one. But to not play like Jackson Hayes at all is crazy to me. Like, he's super athletic and he can run.
A 6'11" rim runner that is a good defensive player. Max Christie, who had one of their highest net ratings on the team all year, highest efficiency players,
got paid.
Barely played. It was nonstop Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, which just didn't work very well. And then LeBron shooting a lot more threes than he ever has. So they just seem like a mess. I don't know what their identity is. Now, if they land DeMar DeRozan, that could be good for them. I think that would give you a lot more confidence. But again, to me, they got to figure out who the core is. Is D'Angelo their primary ball handler? Do they move him for somebody different? They signed Gabe Vincent to a big deal. I don't think he logged more than 10 minutes his entire time. They had some decent young players they've drafted. Now you bring in Bronny, who have signed a multi-year guaranteed contract, which I think is interesting. I don't think any other team in the league would have offered a multi-year guarantee. So he will be on the active roster. Now he might still go to the G League at some point. But what do you guys think the Lakers are doing? What would you do if you're the Lakers right now? Do you just blow it up, trade Anthony Davis and get back stuff and start over? What kind of move would even make sense for them right now?
Moving D'Lo, that's my first move. If whatever kind of package you can do a 3-team trade to get him off the roster and bring DeMar DeRozan. Honestly, like Klay Thompson was the first option. I thought that would have been a great move for them. I wanted them to go get Valanciunas. If you really want to have a backup big next to AD, that would have been amazing. So realistically now, I think Lauri Markkanen is a pipe dream. I don't think they have enough to go get him. I think they're going to ask for too much.
He'd be a fun fit out there, but
yeah, he would be amazing. So I would just put a package into D'Lo, try to go get DeMar back if you can. Another player they should try to target, Tyus Jones. I would try to move Gabe Vincent off the roster. Tyus Jones is an amazing backup point guard. He's actually a starter in my opinion for a lot of teams. I wouldn't mind him being on the roster. So Tyus Jones, DeMar DeRozan are some of my targets, and another one would probably be Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah,
probably try to figure out a way that you can move. Not to say like I don't hate Rui, but if there's a way I think Rui has a lot of growing. Yeah, I'd rather take Dorian Finney-Smith for what you're offering for the three. He can make threes. He plays defense. He's been a starter or off the bench. So I don't mind him being in a trade package as well. So those are the three players I think they should probably try to look at.
Yeah, it just seems if you have LeBron and Rui out there, you just don't have enough. Again, LeBron can shoot, but you don't really have enough quality shooting out there. If both those guys are on the floor at 80s at the 5. But yeah, they have players that I don't think the rest of the league really truly wants. Yeah. I will never understand the Austin Reeves hype. I don't get it. He's got moments, but I really don't think he's anything that special. So why all these teams want Austin Reeves baffles me. I think the Lakers, if they had what they needed to make the trade happen, I think Dejounte Murray would have been great out there. I still think Trae Young would be interesting, but again, I don't think the Lakers have enough of anything to give up that teams covet that are willing to move off of somebody. Like I could see them going out and signing Sadiq Bey coming off of injury, but like I don't know what move out there is realistic if you're a Lakers fan that does not include trading Anthony Davis for a bunch of stuff back. Because I don't think whatever you trade D'Lo for, you're really getting the same value or better back. I mean, as much as the fit isn't great, D'Lo, like you said, he had a career year, looked fantastic for the most part. Just the Lakers are a mess. And then on the flip side, let's look at the Clippers, the other LA team. You lose Paul George, you re-sign James Harden to the max. They picked up Nicholas Batum yesterday, and they signed Derek Jones. Yeah. So they still have some interesting pieces. Don't know what their move is there. I don't know if they'll keep all their bigs, but any thoughts on the Clippers?
I think the Clippers, they may be better in the next 2 seasons. They're going to be in the lottery coming up here in a couple of years because Harden's going to either decline or he's going to inevitably want to go to another team. And I really I haven't seen anything from Kawhi suggesting he can play a full season. I mean, he actually played surprisingly a full season this year during the regular season, and it still wasn't enough. So to me, I think you try to blow it up. And, I know they have some pick swaps out there. I can't remember what team they traded a bunch of picks to, but those are going to turn into some really high draft picks. So to me, like the Lakers, the biggest problem, the first thing I would start with the roster was coaching, and they did that. So I'm actually very curious if they just run it back with the same roster with an actual competent coach, how much of a difference that could make. I do think they need to make some tweaks here and there, but between the two, I think the Clippers probably have a better chance to be better in the upcoming years. But their outlook is very bleak. It reminded me of the Nets after they got KG, Paul Pierce, and Darren Williams, and you kind of saw how quickly that didn't work.
Good guys on the back half of their career.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm a little bit worried if I'm the Clippers, if I'm that front office.
Let's go back to the Lakers for a second because we got to talk about this. Give me your actual stance on JJ Redick as the head coach and what that should look like for them.
I think they're going to have better actions. Like Darvin Ham, I think as like an assistant coach, being a motivator and keeping guys engaged and logged in. I think that's his role. I think that was why he was so good in Milwaukee. I think from an X's and O's standpoint, obviously JJ Redick hasn't been through the rigors of being a head coach, but he knows how to call offenses. He knows how to diagnose plays. Like one of the best shooters we've ever seen at coming off screens. The immediate first thing he started doing during the draft when they picked up Don Connect, he said he's already drawing up plays because you know how much of an attention shooter he is in drawing attention away from defenders. So when you have a coach like that, I think he's going to put them in better positions, like Spence said, to get them engaged on offense so their offense will flow better. But the roster still does need to be tweaked as far as like getting more shooters, getting better spacing. Because in an ideal situation, if you had a pick and roll, either with Bron and AD, you got Connect in one corner, AR in one corner. Then you have obviously maybe a DeMar DeRozan in the dunker spot or Jared Vanderbilt, whoever the other guard is on the ball off the floor. Then that's an ideal situation for the Lakers. LeBron getting downhill, spraying out the shooters, dumping down to a guy who can finish, or maybe another guard who can score, and then you obviously can play out of that. And then you can have other guys coming off screens. Like for all his flaws, and AR is not an amazing player, like you said, Keegan. He can shoot the ball and he can't create his own shot. They don't have too many guards that can do that consistently. So I would trade D'Lo for sure, like we said. Put the ball more in AR's hands. Him and LeBron could be a de facto point guard if need be. Let Don Connect come off screens. If they can find a way to get DeMar DeRozan on the roster, that would be amazing. Because when LeBron goes to the bench, he can run the offense. He can get everyone selecting to get everyone going. He averaged 20 points a night in Chicago. I think he had the number one efficiency for fourth quarter scoring last year, too. I think he led the NBA. Yeah. So he scores really well in the fourth quarter.
I think he also scored the most fourth quarter points.
Exactly. He likes the ball being in his hands. So So having him on the offense would be amazing for them because they needed somebody who can run the offense. That's their biggest issue. The non-LeBron minutes, just like the Warriors, the non-Steph Curry minutes are just bad for them right now. So if they can find anybody to give them some type of scoring, it'll make them a better team. But those kind of pipe dreams based off the assets they have now for sure. But I do think JJ will make their offense look somewhat competent. Just running simple down screens, ladders, and like elevator screens, just getting guys open and spreading the floor is going to be way better for them for sure.
Yeah, I really like his mindset. I thought, he gets a lot of flack for the podcast and the guests, him and LeBron doing a podcast together. I really do think JJ is one of the better minds in basketball that we've seen in ESPN in the last couple of years. I think the way he breaks down film, breaks down players, because he played the game, he understands it. And he's very honest with you. Hey, I was not the best. I was not this really, really good player, but I knew my role and I stuck to it as well as I could. And I understand the game. He's got a highly insane basketball IQ. So I'm buying into whatever hype is out there that JJ will be a good coach. Are you guys concerned at all with the fact that he is so young and so close to LeBron that might get in the way of his ability to either tell LeBron no or to, that's what everybody says. You go to coach the Lakers. What happens when LeBron tells you no? Are you going to overcome it? Are you going to bow down and let LeBron tell you what to do? Who's the real coach on the team? I think that chemistry actually is going to play into their favor, but I can see how throughout the season that's going to come up with, well, the Lakers lost because JJ was too scared to install a game plan or to tweak things away from what LeBron wants.
Well, I think if you look back in Miami, Spoelstra was young when LeBron had his stint there, and that was really the only coach that I think actually did a good job accomplishing what you just talked about. I think LeBron respected him.
And Ty Lue too.
And Ty Lue as well, yeah. So I really think it just depends. I think guys will listen to somebody that actually knows ball and actually knows how to orchestrate an office and run a team. The only time you might see it be a problem is if you have, these young guys, especially these young guys that were ISO scorers in college, saying, man, this guy just averaged 12 points off running around screens all day. He doesn't know this and that, which I feel like that's pretty easily squashed. So it's going to boil down to how his assistant staff looks, which I think, did they officially hire Rondo, or were they just interviewing him? Because I thought that was
I haven't seen any of that yet.
That would be a huge pickup. I think
that would be amazing.
That'd be amazing. That pickup, yeah. I like the move overall, though. I think JJ is going to be a good coach.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because people assume that anybody who gets a first opportunity is not qualified. But there's been plenty of coaches, like Spoelstra's a perfect example. He was sitting in the video room doing film for years before he got a chance. And obviously everybody said the same thing. What's this young guy doing coaching his team? He doesn't know what he's doing. And then in the Miami Heat went on to have all the success. Same thing with Steve Kerr. Mark Jackson made that roster. That's his team. What is he doing? Jason Kidd got an opportunity to coach in Milwaukee. People thought he wasn't ready. Steve Nash flamed out in Brooklyn. So there's always young coaches who get chances.
The Steve Nash one disappoints me so much because I don't think there was anything he could do there himself that would have. He got too many egos. Too many egos. All three of those guys were at the worst ego point of their careers individually, and there was no way you were going to put that together. I feel bad. Same thing. Jacques Vaughn had the same thing happen to him after they got rid of. But yeah, right now they're looking at Alvin Gentry as one of the lead assistants. Lots of experience.
I like that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I think they'll be fine. JJ's a good mind. Obviously, he's going to be a bit of a player's coach too. I can't get over all the memes and jokes though of what do the Lakers do when they need a big time shot? Is JJ going to come running off the bench? Stuff. But I think JJ is going to be ecstatic that he's got Dalton Connect and Max Christie. They re-signed Christie to what I'm going to call a huge contract for a guy that never plays. 3 years, $24 million. He's getting $8 million, and he averaged less than 10 minutes a game. So they're just going to have a lot of pick and roll, pick and pop screens for Christie and Connects. I think that's good. Let's go to the Spurs, the next up and coming young team. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama, this international freak that can do everything. He's getting so much talk to being next year's MVP. In a surprise move, I did not see the Chris Paul signing with the Spurs happening. I thought Chris Paul, not that he would drag it out, but in my mind, I was going, this is the first time he truly gets to pick his team and get a contract. And it was not long after they waived him that you saw Chris Paul 1-year deal with the Spurs. Love the fit. I think that's actually good for him. I'm shocked though he didn't go to a true contender. But thoughts on Chris Paul teaming up with Wemby?
It's like the Thunder all over again. Going to a young team who need leadership. They need a veteran presence. And you see what they did for the Thunder, and obviously they went on to get Shea and everything after that. But same type of concept going to a team that needs leadership. Same thing with Phoenix when he went down with Devin Booker. Young teams that need a veteran point guard. He's out at the back end of his career. I figured he would. I was waiting for the Lakers saying they're going to sign Chris Paul news. Which
Lakers Clippers.
I'm glad they didn't do it because I did not want to see him in a Lakers uniform. This is like 12, 20 years past overdue because we should have saw that in 08. But no, I
It would have
think
been a wonderful trade back in the day.
bro, that would have been perfect. Would have set the league on fire. But no, I love it for Wemby. They needed a point guard. I thought Trae Young was the one they would have traded for. That would have been a move I would have made because they need point guard presence in there because Wemby's going to get you 10 assists a game just because of how athletic he is. But when you have other guys around him like Castle, you have obviously Vassell that they signed last year to a deal. They have guys around him that can make plays, that can make shots. They just need somebody to really, truly run the point guard. And Chris Paul is the ultimate point guard, arguably like the best point guard ever in our era. So I think there's nobody better to come in there and teach those young guys and give Victor a lot of advice and a lot of wisdom that can help him even be a better player than he already is, like Keegan said. So I don't think you could ask for a better temporary point guard solution to where they can eventually find a permanent guy after Chris. But I think that's the best guy you could ask for a temporary solution for sure. And him and Pop are gonna love each other. Like especially when it comes to running offense, they already know they're gonna read each other's minds what they want to do on the court. So
and Chris Paul to me seems like he's going to be the next Jason Kidd style. After he's done playing, he's going to transition. If he wants to coach, he's going to transition into a quality head coach. But yeah, I like that fit. Get an older veteran who knows what he's doing, can teach them a winning mindset. They still have some pieces. I mean, they're a super young team. They don't have like any veteran presence outside of Chris Paul, so they need to go add some pieces there.
Hot take for them. They tank for Cooper Flag and let Cooper Flag and Victor come in next year.
Brooklyn's not going to win more than 10 games next year, so
I think the Spurs are going to be like, we'll try to one up you.
That's hard with Wembanyama getting triple doubles out there. That might be tough to put all that effort out there just to lose.
That'll be funny. Funny.
Yeah, Cooper Flag. I mean, the hype for Cooper Flag is already off the charts with the 6 or 7 teams that are going to tank. Let's talk about a team that has tanked for years and has been really bad, and I'm still questioning their offseason. That's the Detroit Pistons. You go give out $26 million to Tobias Harris to bring him back where he started off his career.
He was in Detroit
recently,
a long time ago.
Before he started really taking off. But nobody in Philadelphia wanted him at $35 million or whatever it was. I am shocked he got $26 million per. I understand why the Pistons did though, because they have so much cap space money, and you're not gonna entice a DeMar DeRozan or a big time free agent to come there. So I get it, but going and get him and then bringing Tim Hardaway Jr. over, trading out Quentin Grimes, losing James Wiseman. I don't know what the Pistons are doing, but I've seen a lot on Twitter already of the new duo of Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris. I'm like, that screams a 15-win season right there.
Jesus Christ.
So maybe they're the tanking team. That's all I have to say about them. They have some nice young pieces, like individual pieces I like. I love Jaden Ivey. I think Cade Cunningham's great.
Jalen Duren, man.
I love Duren.
Duren's a dog, a walking double-double. I love him.
But now they don't have any big man depth. There's somebody I think they brought over to replace Wiseman, but
they don't have Bagley.
So I'm gonna say they have
still Bagley.
They still got
There's somebody else
Stewart
I thought they were trying to sign. Yeah, and Stewart's a little undersized, but again, a motor. He's a Detroit guy for sure. He's a Piston.
Exactly. He's gonna play hard. Yeah.
Let's see some other contenders. How about the Pacers? They lose Jalen Smith to the Bulls, which I think was a good pickup for them. Pick up, of course,
to go after him too.
Yeah, they pick up Johnny Furphy, of course, from KU. They get Tristan Newton, so a winner there in Tristan Newton. Again, it seems like everybody in the East is loading up on athletic wings that are switchable 1 through 4. They re-signed Obi Toppin. They seem to basically be, running it back. I want to say that they also signed a backup big man. Let's see if I can find that. But any thoughts on the Pacers? Where does that still keep them top 5 in the East?
Yeah, they should be a 5 through 6 seed. It just depends on what Cleveland or Orlando do, but they're going to always be in the running from like that little.
They signed James Wiseman. That's right. They signed James.
Yeah.
I like that signing. I just saw that today. That's a very low risk, high reward. James Wiseman is 23 years old, and I mean he's still from just a pure prospect perspective, I mean, he's close to 7 feet. Can stretch the floor with his ugly jumper. So I mean, I like
ugly
that.
jumper.
Yeah, he's got an ugly jumper, but man, I like that as a backup big for Miles Turner. So I do think that was a little bit of an underrated move on their part.
Yeah, I think with Wiseman, it just sucks for him. I don't know why the Warriors drafted him. They didn't need him. He didn't fit their play style. I think he was supposed to be a trade chip that didn't get utilized early. Then he goes to Detroit, who has a log jam, and then they draft Jalen Duren, and Duren's been fantastic. Isaiah Stewart gets a lot of time. They bring Marvin Bagley over, and by then Wiseman's been pushed out. So I think he's just a guy that has all the talent, just has him in the right situation. But hopefully here in Indiana, he's actually got a good chance to be a backup. How about the Nuggets? Let's go there next. Really nothing's happened other than they lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who, again, I was surprised with that contract with Orlando. Orlando, another up-and-coming team in the East, loading up on defensive-minded wings to compete against the Celtics and the Knicks. So I get the move for Orlando. I was surprised KCP did that, and I'm sure it has to do with the money. He's won 2 championships already, so go get one more big contract. But from a winning perspective, obviously he's got a better shot of winning another title with Denver than I think Orlando. A lot of NBA people are like, oh my gosh, the Nuggets dynasty is already over before it started because they lose KCP. Biased KU fan here. Christian Brown is going to immediately slide in, do the exact same thing. I had a guy respond to me on Twitter, and he's like, Christian Brown can't shoot the same as Caldwell Pope. I'm like, well, sure, but he also only averaged 12 minutes a game early on. Later in the season, he played more, so he's only getting 1 or 2 shots up a game. So if he gets 4 or 5 looks a game from corner threes, and maybe he's got a better chance. But I think he's going to slide in immediately next to Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and be fine. But yeah, the Nuggets, they lose Reggie Jackson. Supposedly Jokic wants Russell Westbrook. I don't know why.
Westbrook. Why?
Don't know why. Those two would not be a good fit together on the court. The way
you don't need any
Russell
more
plays.
non-shooters on the floor.
Yeah.
No, you don't need those.
They already have Aaron Gordon, who's at best a average shooter at his position. So why put Russell out there with them? I don't know. It could just all be fake talk. But yeah, the Nuggets probably still need to add a piece or two. I would like to see, I love that Westbrook picked up his contract so he can get paid, but I'd love to see him get moved personally to Miami or Philadelphia.
He fits Miami.
Yeah, Miami would be great. Trying to think what else. Let's go to Miami then for a second. They've got a lot of big contracts. Jimmy Butler all offseason, there's been the talk of, do they move him? Do they keep him? Should he go back to Philadelphia? Is Tyler Hero part of the long-term plan, or is he a trade chip to go get something? They bring in Terry Rozier, who was supposed to boost that offense, and then, of course, he gets hurt. They don't really have a true point guard now with that backcourt there. But if you're the Miami Heat, what do you guys think they should be doing with the way that roster's put together right now? Because they keep striking out on all these big-time trades and acquisitions.
I would trade Tyler Hero. I don't believe the report last summer he was the blocking piece of we didn't want to move him to get Dame. I don't believe that for 1 second. Because if that's the reason why you didn't get Damian Lillard, that's the dumbest decision Pat Riley ever made in his life. And I don't want to disrespect him like that because he's a great basketball mind as a player and as a coach. I would never, and as an executive as well. So I don't want to believe that. So I believe in a heartbeat if they had a player that they believe could be a great asset to their team, like a Lauri Markkanen, I think they would make that trade in a heartbeat because I know I would if it's Tyler Hero and obviously a first-round pick swap or whatever the case may be. Because they have some young pieces. I love Jaime Jaquez and what he's doing for them. I love the I always butcher his name. Is it Vucic or Vucic?
Nikola Jovic?
Jovic, that's his name, Jovic. I love him and what the big he has. He's like a stretch forward for them. So they have some good young pieces. Obviously, they're trying to see if they're going to get a Jimmy deal done. I think he does. I don't think Jimmy's going anywhere because he's set in his ways.
He is Mr. Miami Heat.
And they like what he does. They'll literally let him just BS his way through the whole regular season, then get an 8 seed and see what we can do. They don't care about winning regular season games, and clearly they're okay with it because they've gotten to a finals that way. So,
yeah, they can go in as an 8 seed and be just fine.
Because they're not afraid of playing Boston. If that's who they're going to see. They're like, we like playing them anyway, so they don't even care if that's the 1 seed. So, yeah, I would definitely try to package Tyler Hero on a trade and try to figure out we can get a guy like Lauri Markkanen if possible. Obviously, there's some other people that would have been great for them. If I was them, I would have tried to move for a guy like Donovan Mitchell in a trade, but I don't think Cleveland was ever going to actually give him up, especially when he got a new deal done. So
Now
yeah, if
they could talk about Darius Garland maybe. You know, there's the talk that
yeah,
Cleveland wants to keep both, but that Garland is maybe considering a different
moving on.
change of scenery because he can't
Yeah.
play alongside Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if that's true, if it's coming from him or not. It's probably just more of to help get his contract talks going too. That hey, I'm just as valuable as Donovan Mitchell, so pick one of us. But I tried this on 2K the other day. I made a couple of trades actually, and ended up playing Mr.
generator.
Team over there. Yeah, I flipped some guys around and brought Trae Young to Miami. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Trae Young's play. I think he's Steph Curry on defense.
Well, he definitely is.
Terrible on defense, but he's such a playmaker and distributor that I love him a lot there. And then I also brought over Brook Lopez from Milwaukee to play alongside Bam, move Bam to the 4. I also like DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta moving over there. And there was something else I did. Oh, I traded for Zach LaVine. That's what I did. Zach LaVine to Miami. I personally don't think Pat Riley was going to make the Damian Lillard trade for 2 reasons. I don't think he wanted that contract because then they couldn't do anything else with Dame's contract and Jimmy's contract. With Bam's coming up and a potential extension for Jaquez down the line. I think they really value growing up in their culture. So I think that's why you don't see a lot of these big trades they've done. And I also think just Dame's play style would not have really fit with Bam and Jimmy as much. So I don't think you could have both Jimmy and Dame together. But yeah, I'd like to see Zach LaVine down there. I think DeMar DeRozan could be an interesting fit. They got to figure out though, is Tyler Hero or Terry Rozier part of the future? And if not, find the true point guard of that team. What else? What other teams you guys want to jump on? Any other major thoughts on offseason or things you'd like to see happen? You know, the Suns have no money, and the talk is can Houston pry away Kevin Durant? Do teams wait and try and get Devin Booker next year? You know, what do you do with Bradley Beal's $45 million and now has become the 4th option on that team?
I really think getting Beal was a terrible move for them. They traded away so much of their depth. You already have 2 elite scorers. You don't need to bring in other. And Devin Booker's saying, I don't know how teams are going to guard us. Well, it's really easy because there's only one basketball, so only one of you guys can have it. And so teams figured them out relatively quickly, and now you have no depth, and you have a guy in Bradley Beal who's also, he's a 28 point per game scorer in the past, but he's very injury prone, and he just doesn't fit. It's just everyone tries to cram these prolific ISO scorers on the same team.
They're all ISO scorers.
That's what I mean. You know,
no true point guard.
They have 2 point guard.
5 guys on the roster that do the same thing. Basically, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Nasir Little, David Roddy.
Right.
They have Bol. Let's talk about another coaching malfeasance, in my opinion. 3 teams now have had Bol and have done nothing with him. But I don't know if it's just because he's a defensive liability being so thin, but he's super talented and he just never gets any run time. They did sign Mason Plumlee. I think that was actually a good move for them to have a solid backup with Nurkic. And they signed Monte Morris yesterday or today too. So they finally have a backup, like solid point guard. So I actually think their roster right now is better than this last season. But another team, you're sitting there going, you have so much money tied up in Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker that, not saying you have scrubs on the rest of the roster, but you really have to rely on your role players playing above their contract. And Grayson Allen did really well this last year, and he got a big contract boost. He's making $15 million now. But the rest of that roster is just not a lot that really excites you. Let's see. You already talked about Minnesota, the work they did. Toronto's one I think is kind of interesting. They're like in no man's land. Oh, Pacers. I forgot to mention the Pacers. They, of course, re-signed Pascal Siakam. That's huge for them.
Good deal.
Cleveland hasn't really done anything to lose anybody. You know, there's talks of moving Jared Allen and moving Evan Mobley back to the 5. But not much there. Then you've got a bunch of teams that are just kind of mediocre. You know, Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, Portland. Portland has too many guys that do similar stuff, and I don't know what's going to happen over there. How about the Utah Jazz? Let's talk about them for a second. Not to pick on anybody by any means, completely respect anybody's background, but the whole Kyle Filipowski Utah Jazz seems to be a perfect fit for his background. Another team
heard the story about his girlfriend and their family.
It's wild.
That story is, but is it true? Or that was just
So I mean,
something made up?
supposedly his brother's the one that commented first, and
If
basically
he really cut off his family for her, Jesus,
his girlfriend
Lord.
cut him off from us. 10 years older, been grooming him. She'd seen their pictures. She
That's
doesn't look 10 years older
crazy.
than him, which is wild.
Bro, they're like but they were with your family. So how did they hate her if she's the babysitter? Like that doesn't make sense. Like
it's wild, but perfect fit for him in Utah, considering
they
religious
need all the help
background.
they can get. Especially if Lori leaves, he steps right in. So
That's why I find it interesting, because Utah has like 6 guys that are 7-footers that all do similar. I mean, Walker Kessler's not a shooter like Markkanen, but I mean, they were playing Markkanen at the 3 last year with John Collins and Walker Kessler, and he looked great. But yeah, they're an interesting team. They have a lot of young, talented pieces. I'm shocked nobody has tried to peel away Colin Sexton yet to be
I've been hearing his name in trade talks.
I've
been hearing
he's
Miami
another one. I think Miami would have been good if Dallas did not go get Kyrie Irving when they did. I thought he'd be a good fit in Dallas. Colin Sexton to me seems like one that's somebody's got to go pry his offensive talent away. They've got
over D'Lo in LA for sure.
Yeah, I guess let me ask you guys this then about Larry Markkanen. What are the 3 best teams you think would be the best fit for him? Not teams that could trade for him, but the 3 teams that you think he would look really good on.
Miami. Trying to think of playoff teams. Miami for sure. Pipe dream would be LA. If the Lakers are able to get him, that's an amazing fit for them. And then third team.
For me, it's been Dallas.
Before and Dallas too. I like them.
If they didn't make the Klay move, yes, I would say that. If they didn't make the Klay move, yeah.
Actually, I'd trade PJ Washington and whatever else you can and bring Markkanen over.
Oh, yeah, if it's available, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
Spencer, were you about to say the Pelicans? Is that what I heard you say?
Well, no,
They do need shooting.
I said Philadelphia before they got Paul George. I mean, it'll be something they would love to get, but I thought his fit was good there. Another floor spacer. But he's a really versatile guy that you can really plug in anywhere. Anyone can use a versatile stretch four on their
6'10", pick and pop.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like Kristaps' little brother.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind even the Spurs with them too, especially if they have Chris Paul. I think they need, they have a young core of guys that I think they should keep. Who's the Devin Vassell? I think he's crazy underrated. I like him. But I think everybody else, maybe you keep Keldon Johnson, but I think you move Sohan. I think you move Collins. I think some of these guys just are not fitting with this roster, and especially the only guy that passed Wemby most games was Tyus Jones' brother, Trey Jones.
Trey Jones.
Yeah, so I think you trade some of those young guys for an established player like Markkanen, and that's when you're talking about the Spurs becoming a playoff team.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Last one I really got is anybody out there that you think is realistically going to trade for Zach LaVine, or what do the Bulls have to do to give Zach LaVine away? And heck, Lonzo Ball for that matter too.
Yeah, I like the Kings for Zach LaVine. I've been saying the Kings need to go out and get a established scorer outside of Fox.
The Kings have the pieces and the fit. They could package Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter for salary, and probably have to throw in Vezenkov, I think, would be the other salary piece. Yeah. That would hurt their depth a little bit, but LaVine would be an upgrade at the 2 spot for sure.
Yeah.
Them or the Warriors would be my pick right now for a team that need an instant guard play right now.
He's just that contract is awful.
It's so disgusting. They paid him so much.
Even for the Warriors to get there, you have to package Wiggins, Kevon Looney.
Wiggins, Looney. I was gonna say the Klay deal would have made sense. He's gone now
because they've already used their and I don't think that's happened now because they gave Kyle Anderson
all that money. I was not expecting them to get Kyle Anderson at all. That's the last thing on my mind. I thought Minnesota would have resigned him back after how well he played for them. So
we'll have to do this on another episode, but talk about just the salary cap in general and how obviously I think we're seeing the shift away for the most part of the big trio to the duo now, because you just can't have 3 max guys on a team and expect things to go well. Because all these guys that are getting the max contracts by year 2 or 3, you're looking at going, what do we do? How do I pay Zach LaVine $50 million and win?
Can't do both.
I do want to say I want to point out the Pelicans, who quietly got DeJounte Murray. I thought that was
did not see that coming.
Huge pickup for them. And
I thought they liked Trey more than him, but that's a great move for them.
And they didn't even have to. They really didn't give up a ton. All
Larry Nance and a pick.
because they kept Herb Jones, they kept Trey Murphy,
Trey
so they've got their
Murphy,
two
yeah.
really good shooters
Jose
and
Alvarado's
defenders
still
there.
there.
Yeah.
They did
Nobody.
they did lose Jonas Valanciunas, which really sucks for them. I was shocked that he went and signed with the Wizards.
Yeah, that makes
Again,
sense.
probably for the money because the Wizards are going nowhere quick.
Nobody else offered him money? Nobody?
I mean,
Yeah.
there was the Lakers were on his list. Miami had him on their list. The Suns had him on their list.
I highly doubt nobody else offered him that.
Indiana
They
had
didn't
him on
really
their
pay
list.
him a hell of money.
Yeah, I think he got 11 or 12 million.
That's not a lot of
But
money.
he's a physical five that you can
He's
do
a double guy. Yeah, every
yeah,
night.
Memphis looked at bringing him back. But yeah, I think that move's great. I'm the only downside I think is I don't know how different the situation backcourt will be of him and CJ McCollum being different from him and Trae Young. You've now got CJ McCollum who slides back to the 2 and is technically undersized because Murray's going to have the ball in his hands more. So, Dame and CJ McCollum were fun to watch for a while, but they weren't good enough defensively to do anything else. And I don't know how much that changes. And of course, is Zion going to be healthy enough to do anything? But yeah, I think the Pelicans are starting to put together some really high quality players. But yeah, the rest of the league, I mean, I didn't see that much other talk on teams that were really actively trying to acquire him. The Hawks had to do the best they could to recover the 5 picks they gave up for him. And I think they got 3 out of it. But anything else? Any other hot takes or any offseason stuff? There's really no big names left other than DeMar DeRozan is really the next big domino. Maybe Miles Bridges is the other biggest offseason piece that's still out there.
I don't think we really did talk about Bronny getting drafted.
That's true.
I don't care, but
over under on how many games he plays on the big league team.
8.5.
I think very sparingly at
Does
first.
he start game 1?
Oh no!
I have a feeling they're going to throw him out there game 1, get him out there first thing right away with his dad, just for the moment, just to
get it out there. Well, you're talking about like a legit starter, just like a get him out there, get him out.
Oh yeah, just like what you do on senior night for your walk-ons.
Oh yeah.
Just a full publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Get him out there.
A bounty on his head with other NBA teams. I don't know if you guys remember Lonzo Ball's first NBA game, but they played. I think it was the Clippers, and Pat Bev guarded him.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And it was,
like
it was a rough game for him. It's gonna be like that on like times 10. Whoever.
I think he's gonna be on a 2-way for sure. Put him on the G League roster, let him play, get minutes. He'll only get called up, in my opinion, if someone gets hurt. Knock on wood. I don't want anyone to get that, but unless someone gets hurt or obviously they have a major big trade, he's not gonna get called up and play any minutes. In my opinion.
It will be a cool moment to see. I mean, as much of a villain as LeBron has been becoming, the older he gets, he's still top 3 greatest player of all time, arguably number 1. The fact that he gets to play with his son is really cool because you never see that in the NBA. You sometimes get that in Major League Baseball, sometimes in hockey, just how long guys play, but you don't get to see that in the NBA that often. So I think that's really cool. Heck, we might even see LeBron stay long enough to get Bryce up here too, get all 3 of them. So I think that'll be a cool moment when they share the court at the same time. And obviously, people are going to go nuts when Bronny throws an alley-oop to his dad at some point because that'll happen.
Take a photo of that one.
Yeah. He's the most bet player to win Rookie of the Year, even though he stands no shot at getting
it. Most bet what? Jeez.
Actually, that was CJ. I was going to ask you that from a betting perspective. Who would you throw money on as the Rookie of the Year? Because I don't think it's either of the top 2 picks.
Klingon would be one of my first picks. Rookie. You have to be a guy that's going to touch the ball a lot. So Klingon, Dalton Konnett. I'll give you 2 more. I'll give an honorable mention. My 3rd pick would probably be Rob Dillingham was going to be up 6th man of the year, so that's impressive.
Yeah,
but I would say
that could put him in contention for it.
Maybe so. Klingon, Konnett. Who else did I talked about my friends this other day.
Shepard, I think, has a good shot. It just depends on how many touches he gets a game.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of guys in there in front of him that's going to touch the ball a lot.
Because that's the thing about this draft class. There's really nobody that just jumps out going like Rasashi or whatever his name is. He didn't do that much overseas this last year.
He's going to touch the ball a lot because if
maybe Alex Sarr with the Wizards will probably get the most minutes.
He's going to get a lot of run. Yeah, he's going to get a lot of run.
The guy with the Bulls, he's
Marcevich. He's going to get a lot of run too. Yeah, especially when Zach LaVine goes. Those are probably like my top 3. Yeah, probably Klingen, I think he's going to touch the ball immediately, pick and roll. I know people hate Scoot Henderson or you love him. He's going to get a lot of touches. Don Connect's going to get as many shots as they want, but they need shooting desperately. And like you said, Star is going to get a lot of touches. And obviously, like the easy one would be Castle. Castle's going to be like a 5-way player. He can play defense, rebound, shoot, block shots, steals. He can mess around and be all defensive team if they give him that opportunity. When you play next to a guy like Victor, their defense is going to be crazy. Him on ball with Victor behind you.
That's what the other thing I think is who's the guy that's going to get a lot of playing time, but is also going to be on a team that's getting noticed for doing something. Like, sure, you get the guys like Cade Cunningham being on a terrible team, puts up huge numbers, but can the guy put up good numbers and help his team win? That's why I kind of think Nikola Topic could factor in. I think he could have the depth of numbers across the board. But yeah, that's the thing with this draft class. There's not just really there's not 1 to 2 to 3 guys that just really pop off, no brainers that you're just going, man, this is gonna be a star. I don't even know about Donovan Klingen because what the heck do the Trailblazers do with DeAndre Ayton? You can't play both of them.
Trade him.
Who's picking up DeAndre Ayton? That's another big contract.
I think he's good with the Pelicans.
I was about to say New Orleans. I was just about to say that New Orleans.
Yeah. They do need a center now. They don't have a starting caliber, high quality. I mean, they drafted Yves Missi from Baylor, but they did. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, interesting draft class. It's been an interesting offseason. Personally, I'm super excited about the Paul George to Philly. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun to watch them. I'm gonna love watching what the Mavericks do. But yeah, I think that's kind of what we'll wrap up now. We'll probably do some more offseason stuff later, give some predictions. I guess right now, give me your top 2 teams on the West and the East so far through the offseason.
Minnesota and OKC out the West. Those are my top 2.
I'd probably have the same. I think are you talking about off season? Or are you talking about
like who with the up to this point of the off season? Who do you think are the 2 best teams on each side of the conferences?
Oh yeah, Wolves and Thunder for sure. And the East for me is Celtics. I still think they should be the favorites to run it back. And then I'll probably say East, probably Philly. I'm just landing Paul George. I mean, if everyone can stay healthy, that's my big asterisk there.
Whoever wants to be healthy in number 2. It could be Boston. I mean, it could be New York. It could be Milwaukee. It could be Philly. Whoever the healthiest team is going to be the number 2 in the East. Boston's clearly number 1, like Spence said, and everybody else is fighting for number 2. I don't see anybody beating Boston in a 7-game series in the East. To be honest, I think the only team in the NBA that really could give them a run for their money to win a championship, in my opinion, was Minnesota. I think they just had the depth defensively. They could switch a lot of things. They're long. You have multiple guys that create their own bucket. Anthony Edwards is a dog. And adding guys like Sanders Jr. and Rob Dillingham is going to help them tremendously. Now, those guys are rookies, but I think having multiple shot creators around Ant is going to make his job 10 times easier. So that's the team I wanted to see play Boston if it wasn't going to be Denver last year. And now we know their run is over. So, yeah, I think it's pretty much Boston and everyone else in the East to see what they do for them.
I'm going to put the Knicks at 2 just because I think they have the pieces to defend Boston. I still have questions, though, offensively. How does it all fit? But I think they have the pieces to go out there and defend. I also think the Pacers in Orlando might quietly be better than most people will give them credit for. Just the way their rosters are constructed, they have the right types of role players together. And Halliburton's going to keep getting better. And Benedict Mather's going to come back. And then maybe the Grizzlies on the West could be another team that sneaks up. Getting Ja Morant back for a full season. DeAndre Bain not having the entire season of offense on his shoulders. That could be interesting. But yeah, it's going to be fun. This is, again, one of my favorite times of year is the offseason speculation, seeing how rosters get put together. I love playing armchair GM on 2K every day and just trading guys left and right to see what fits. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. We'll do some more NBA talk throughout the summer as we get into it. Get CJ to give us some bets as we get closer to the season. But yeah, that'll wrap it up on this one. Again, if you haven't done so already, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button below. On our way to 700 subscribers, we're getting a lot closer. You can also hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod, or listen to us on the go on Spotify. But for those of you that have been supporting us so far, thank you so much, and we hope you guys continue to do so. Well, that'll wrap it up for this one. We will catch you guys in the next episode.